Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Stormworks, and in this one we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and I'm going to start off a tutorial series. So for those of you who are newer to the game, there's going to be a lot of really basic info in this one, but we are going to basically create a tutorial series where you could go from not knowing anything about Stormworks to being relatively competent and capable of building relatively advanced things. So in this one, it's going to be a lot of probably not new information for many of the players, but for people who are very new to Stormworks or are looking to maybe get into the game, this is probably a good starting round. So I'm going to go really over a couple of the settings in today's video, as well as the workbench and a lot of the controls for the workbench. So we'll get into the logic and the blocks and modular engines and that kind of stuff in later videos. This is going to be a very bare bones, we're going to start from the ground up kind of tutorial series. So just bear with me. This one's going to be a little bit slower, but again, this is for the new players. So starting off here, we are at O'Neill Air Base, and this is the map screen. So if you click M, it will bring up your map, and you can zoom out and it will show everything. All these little dots are islands or points of interest. This is a DLC land, so you need the industrial DLC for this. And then up here we have a couple different other options. So you have a temperature map, and this shows the temperature. You have a rain map, this shows the precipitation, fog, wind. Oop, no, I don't want to fast travel. And then the moon. And this is just a small map of the moon. I think there's a crater in here named Whack Crater. Yeah, there we go. Look, we made it. But anyways, yeah, that's the map screen. So we are over at O'Neill Air Force Base, right over here. And I'm going to go to the workbench. So at many of these locations, you'll see this blue bench. And this is how you edit vehicles, spawn vehicles, create vehicles, everything. So just walk over here, you click E, and it will bring you into the editor. So this is the hangar space. As you can see, this is the boundary limit for the hangar, and you can make these bigger with a little bit of file manipulation, but I'm not going to go over that with you guys. But yeah, this is the build area. So I'm kind of just going to go talk about a lot of the controls on the outside of the screen here, and then we will talk a little bit about the settings too. So just starting at the top here, this is the exit. You click this and it will exit. It will not spawn the vehicle. It will save it though in the autosave. You click spawn, it will spawn. And I just got a little truck for you guys to look at, and that's on my workshop page if you want, but this is just a little stage. So we'll be using this quite often. You guys will see us come back to this, but yeah, and that's how you spawn things. If you go over here and click new vehicle, it will give you a new vehicle and a block. And let me just turn these off. You can go to the right and you can load a vehicle. So we will load our tutorial stage. You can save it. We will save it. And then this screen is how you upload things to the Steam Workshop. So if I wanted to upload this, I would give it a name. I would maybe give it some tags, land, multi-vehicle. And then this is where you can pick a thumbnail. And I'll go over this later on. This is a little bit more in depth. You have to make a photo very specific and then put it in a very specific folder for this. But you can see right up here, that's basically what you're looking to do. Is you just make an image that is 512 by 512 pixels. It is a PNG file, and you place it in the app data Stormworks thumbnails file folder. And just a side note real quick, the app data folder will not show up. It is something that is not going to just show up in your file explorer. An easy way to get to it is just click Windows R and then type in this, the %appdata%, and it'll pull it up for you. That's the easiest way to get to it. But again, we'll go over that a little bit later. But yeah, you go through that and you can publish it to the workshop, and other people can download it and play with it. Next, I'm going to kind of talk about the paint. So I'm going to skip this one because we're going to talk about it a little bit more. So the paint, this is as simple as you think it is. It's a paintbrush. You get to paint things. A little smiley face for you guys. You got a couple different options here. So this is the additive one. This is really cool. It's not actually additive, but what it's really used for is to change the color of lights. So I can change color of lights, the color of indicators, to whatever I want. And that's what that one's used for. And then you have the bucket. Well, you have the swap tool, and that does exactly what you think it does. So if we want to make this fire truck yellow, there it is, yellow. You'll notice that not all of the blocks changed. So there's a lot of these red ones, and that's because they're paint blocks. So you just have to go and change that yourself. But we will make the truck red again. I like the red. And then you just have the basic bucket fill. So it will paint inside of another paint boundary everything on a face. So you'll notice that it did not paint this because it was encircled by white. Get rid of those quick. If you click this button down here, this big circular paint, that's where you can create your custom colors. And say I created this custom purple, I want to save it, you just click this plus right here and you select any of these blinking slots. So there you go. Now it's saved. I can pick any of my custom colors. So that is painting. So next I will go to the erase tool. It works exactly like you think it does, just erases. And to quick access that, instead of clicking on this, you just have to click X. Just click X, it will toggle between the two. That's all I'm doing. Likewise, we did skip over that you have the undo and redo buttons just like you would in any file program that you are probably familiar with. So just click Control Z and it's an undo, and it works exactly like that. So the hotkeys are really, they are your friend. They are going to make things a lot easier, a lot quicker. Next, we're going to go on to the selection tool. And so this little arrow thing, move, not the selection tool, sorry, move, lets you manipulate the item in the workspace and move it wherever you want. Next, we're going on to the logic, and this is where Stormworks becomes a little bit more cumbersome. So this will be its own video, but I'm just going to go over the types of logic we have over here. So we have data, and that is going to be all of these red, or pinkish, I guess, and green. So the pink is going to be a Boolean, and by Boolean I mean something that triggers an on-off signal. So think of like a light switch. It is either on or it is off. There's no other options. The green is numbers. So this can give you any amount of data, any number value, anything like that. And those are going to be our main calculators for a lot of the logic right here. Next one is composite, and that is essentially the same thing as data, except it is compressed and encrypted. So think about this one line can have Boolean, so on-off signals, and number signals, and multiples of them. And that we'll talk about that in other videos later on. That's a little much for right now. Next we have electric. It's pretty simple. You gotta power everything. So right here you'll see I got a giant tree of things. That's a breaker that connects to my battery, so I can isolate everything from the battery and save the battery. Next we have our video, and this is pretty simple. For example, right here we have a camera. The camera feed right here goes over to the video signal. And in this creation, this is acting like a rear view mirror for me. So very simple. Next we have sound. And sound is very similar to video. It is just transporting sound. So you can get sounds from microphones, speakers, seats, radios, a variety of different ways to get sounds. And again, we'll talk about that more in depth. And then next is this rope section. And I'm actually going to come over here for the rope section. We'll pick the classic whack orange. And I'm going to go pick a rope anchor. So if we click here and here, we have two rope anchors. What this does is it allows us to spawn a rope in between these two nodes. So if we spawn it in real quick and come over, you'll notice that this has a rope on it now. And those are detachable. But this logic also works for cables. And the cool thing about cables is you can do the same thing, and they transfer power and data. Or you can also use it for hoses. And hoses do exactly what they sound. They just they're a way for fluid to move. So they're all different colors. You have the rope, it's black. You have the cable that is blue, and you have the hose that is red. So that is it for our logic tab. Next we have our merge, and merge is not a great name for this tool, honestly. It just kind of shows you the physics bodies. I am sorry about the noise outside, guys. Hold on. All right, sorry about that, guys. The landscapers were mowing the lawn outside, so I apologize. But where were we? We were talking about the merge tool. So this is showing your physics bodies. So if I hover over this green body, this is the main physics body of this creation. And you'll notice that everything that can move on this creation is not the same color as this green. And so that is very important to know. It will show everything that is a separate physics body, but is physically attached to the creation. So I'll just spawn this in to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So we saw that this door right here was separate. And the only reason that this door can flip up is because it's separate. So if you want things to move, they have to be a separate body. And you can do that with this tool, the selection grid. And we'll talk about that next. But this is a very useful tool, guys. This is extremely useful in my mind for building hulls. When you build a hull and say there's a hole in it or something like that, this is really good to look around with because it shows everything in one plain flat color. And so you can see if there's any issues. You can see if I turn this off, this is a lot more to look at than this. So very useful tool. And moving on from this, we have our selection grid. And this is my favorite tool personally. So what we can do with the selection grid is we can select things. So I can move this around. I can change it to be as big as I want. And say I wanted to copy this. I can click copy, or I can move and cut, and that's a copy and paste. So I can paste it, paste it, paste it. And you'll notice if I go back to our merge tool, these are separate bodies now. They are not attached. And this is one of the easier ways to make something a separate body, is just select it, copy, paste it. And if we do that, we can merge them together, and now it's one piece again. So going back to this, if I X that out and I click reset, that resets our grid. Now, a very useful tool for this is, say I want to copy this fire truck. You can do it this way, moving the grid around, and that's fine and all. But an easier way to do it is just look at what you want to copy and hold Control, and it will highlight it. So click that. You don't have to hold it after you click it. But if you want to select more, just hold Shift, and you'll see it will select everything from that to what I am looking at. Very useful, very, very quick in comparison. You see how quickly I can grab everything on this vehicle. It's much quicker than moving everything. Looks like I missed the antenna. But yeah, so that is your selection grid. Very useful, very fun. Become friends with that. That is very good for changing things on your ship. Don't be afraid to copy and paste things. It's a sandbox game. Redo things, have fun, be patient. But yeah, so that is most of our tools. This last one is microcontrollers. This is going to be its own video. So I'm not going to talk about this in this video. This will be in another coming video. The next thing we are going to talk about is the right side of tools. And so we have our symmetry tools. And this will put a grid, and it allows us to make things symmetrically along that axis. And we can do it along all axes, so X, Y, and Z. And then if you click this, you can move it too. So if I want to move the plane, here, I'll change the color of that. So you can see those were done with two different planes of symmetry. Very useful. Check on this a lot when you're building. Make sure it's on or off as you need it. That's a common mistake even I make to this day. The next is going to be your cut tool. Cut view, section plane. So anybody who is familiar with technical drawings or anything like that, this is a very useful thing that's pretty common. And what it allows you to do, it works exactly like the symmetry grids, except it allows you to see a slice of a vehicle. So if I put this right in between the fire truck, you can see it slices it in half, and the other half of the truck is still there. It just kind of lets us see inside. So that is that tool. I don't really use that one all that much, maybe for some screenshots here or there. We'll get rid of these. Next is the camera. Now I am always in free mode, pretty much always. There's also an orbit mode, and you can use it. It's kind of weird, but free mode's great. If you look wherever you want to go with free mode and click F, it will teleport the camera there. And this is a very useful tool, especially with bigger creations. Just keep that in mind. So that's kind of how I hop around so much. I'm just clicking F, and I go exactly where the cursor is. Another pretty useful little cheat. Now the center of mass. This is pretty easy to understand, pretty self-explanatory. This is taking the center of mass of everything in the selection grid right now. So this is the center of mass of this stage and this truck. Very, very good tool for helicopters, airplanes, anything that you're trying to make very, very stable. This is something you should be checking. Next we have the direction arrows. And this will just kind of highlight blocks that move or kind of have more to them than what catches the eye. So this tool will show you which way your tires rotate on both axes, so steering and going forward. It also, you'll notice I have these blue grids everywhere. These are paint blocks. So this tells me that that is not a normal block. It's a paint block, and I can paint on a 16, I don't know if it's 16. I think it's like 8 or something like that, but yeah, that lets you paint on a paint grid. Going after that, we have the tool tips. I pretty much never use these. I think they're rather annoying, but if you are new to the game, it does help. This is just showing you the directions that you could rotate the block. So if you didn't know, in Stormworks, you're going to use J, K, and L primarily to rotate things. And then you can also flip them along axes. So if I grab, let me grab an asymmetrical block. What's a good one? This one, yeah. So if I click I, you see that flips it. Or if I click U, that flips it along a different axis. Or if I click O, it flips it along a different axis. That's a pretty useful thing to do, especially if you're going to use the selection grid. We'll say, hold on, let me get a line of symmetry. So, right there. Now, if I say I want to copy this shape, and I copy it, and I go over here, well, it's not going to be the same. So I have to either rotate it twice, 90 degrees, or you just click U, and it will flip along the x-axis. So that is a useful tool to know. Next, you have the grid lines. It's pretty self-explanatory. It just shows the grid lines. Let me get rid of these for you. And then we have the measure tool. So with the measure tool, you can see if I take this block and I drag it, on the bottom right of the build screen, there's numbers. And that is showing me the dimension of whatever I'm trying to build. So you can see currently that is 7 meters long by 1/4 meter. Pretty cool, pretty useful. Pretty self-explanatory. This next button is just the world view. It'll show the world around you. It doesn't show lighting, so it'll look a little bit different once you spawn it in. It's not loading any of the lighting in the workbench, but that's about it. And then lastly, we have this editor warning. So the editor warning is pretty useful for newer players. You'll notice a lot of my creations kind of look like a mess when you press this, and that is because my vehicles are designed to not use infinite electricity, so just keep that in mind. But these little triangles, you'll see if I hover over this triangle, electric not connected and missing an on and off. So it tells me that this block is missing some logic, and that's a very useful troubleshooting tool. But yeah, guys, that is about it for the building. You know, if you click this, you got our inventory, but this is going to be another episode in itself too. So we'll go over a lot of the block types, but I will spawn it in. And the last thing we'll talk about is kind of the settings. So just real quick, you click escape, and this is going to be the menu that you probably use the most right here, the custom menu. And this is going to be kind of how you manipulate the world. So I can change the time. I can change how long the day is, make it go really fast. I can make it foggy, windy, rainy. This is also where you can spawn natural disasters. So on your right here, you have spawn tsunami, spawn whirlpool, tornado, meteor, eruption, megalodon, and kraken. So all of these, you have your special events. You can clean. This is a very useful thing too. Cleaning all vehicles, cleaning the radiation and the oil spills. And then this is unlock the map. So this screen is pretty useful. A lot of the boxes are pretty self-explanatory. It's just a menu that you should know is here, and it's got a lot of very useful tools in it. So just keep that in mind. The next screen that is important is your settings, and I'm not going to go over these. You guys can check out my settings right here. This is what I play on. I'm not on a desktop. I'm on a laptop, pretty decent one, but this is what I play and record on. And this is the main tab we want to look at, general. So this is something that you should know about. Physics detail. Some people will specify what physics detail you need to use in their creation. Now, I usually just keep mine on auto for performance reasons, but this is something you should know is in the game, and you can change it to low, medium, and high, and it will affect the performance of your computer. But yeah, guys, that is just about it for our first tutorial. So I know it was a little slow, probably a lot of information that most of you already know, but you know, if there's a few people in here that didn't know that or didn't know a lot of this, I hope it is useful. That is the goal. And in the next episode, we will be getting a little bit more in depth with the logic and stuff like that. So I appreciate your guys' support. If there's any specific tutorials you would love to see me make, let me know, and we will try to get those done. But yeah, we will be making a lot of these. I will make them on logic. I will make them on composites. I'll make them on modular engines, jet engines, electric systems, all that kind of good stuff. But that is all we have for this one. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all your guys' support. I hope you found some of this useful, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.